Hello everybody and welcome back. It is good to talk to all of you again today. Some of you probably would have noticed that most of the videos that are coming up these days are coming up on the weekends. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, I'm working these crazy 16, 17-hour days, and yeah, weekends pretty much the only time I'm going to have time to get around to making some videos. But, you know, it's something I miss during the week, and I look forward to the weekend. So, of course, this weekend, at least for the very first video, I'm going to be talking about the Boise. The ship is currently a work-in-progress ship. Anything I say can and potentially will change by the time the final ship arrives in the game. So, what is the Boise? The Boise is basically going to be the first ship in the Pan-American line. And she is basically going to eventually make it in-game as the ARA, which is the Argentinian Navy ship. Now I'm going to pronounce this horribly, Nueve de Julio. And it's going to be... well, she's basically a Brooklyn-class ship, and in some ways kind of similar to the Helena. And at least, like, when you first look at her, you're like, yeah, you know, 15 guns, 152mm caliber, U.S. gun arcs, looks like the same ship, very similar in many ways. But the Boise, and I'm still going to call her Boise because she hasn't taken on her new name yet, does have radar. But is the price of radar a little bit too high? And that's kind of what I'm going to get at throughout the course of this video. It's radar, and radar always can be useful, especially when you're a light cruiser with this many guns, right? If a destroyer pops up and you theoretically pop your radar, that destroyer is going to be in trouble. But in my opinion, Boise gives up way too much for this particular radar. She gives up, get ready for this, she gives up speed, she gives up rate of fire, she gives up range on her guns, and it's very, very costly. Her guns, they do rotate faster than the Helena's guns, but Helena has 8.5 second reload time. Boise has 10. Now your radar only lasts, I think, 25 seconds, and so if you light up against a destroyer with your radar, you're going to get 2 salvos off. And that's it. You're going to have 2 good salvos. Before now, you've got to close even more and hope your hydro is going to help. So that's the first problem. Second problem, of course, is you don't really have that range. Now, when it comes to this ship, the range can sometimes be a blessing and sometimes can be a curse. It's kind of got that weird, let's say, combination where sometimes you're like, you know, not having range is not too bad. It does force you to kind of get a little bit closer. Forces you to get into positions a little bit more, so that you kind of have to think about it more, get into better positions, and to get out to the maximum range of the ship, the shells, they don't take as long, right, as if you had, let's say, the Helena's range. So that's good, but then at the same time, in some situations when you're like camped up behind an island and you're finally in a good position, the short range kind of limits you from being able to, shall we say, reach out and touch somebody when they do come towards you. You have to allow them to come in quite a bit more before you're able to get those shots off. So that range penalty is quite big as well. At least when I played, I just felt like, oh, wish sometimes I had a bit more range. Like when I finally got behind an island, I wish I had a little bit more range. 15 guns is nice, no doubt about it. Very, very much dependent on IFHE, of course. But you know, you got 15 guns, and that's always nice. You have 15 HE shells, a lot of chances to set fires. So in that way, yeah, she's got the strength of the Helena. But that rate of fire, 10 seconds, it's slow. You can feel it, right? You can feel it. And of course, that slowness plus the USN arcs, the ship it takes a special kind of player, I think, or a player who likes this kind of style of play to enjoy this particular kind of ship. Positioning is very, very important when you're playing the Boise. As you can tell, for pretty much most of this battle, you will see that I am getting into positions where I've got some land cover, I've got some ability to have maybe the islands providing me with some concealment. So there's always this consideration about like what's kind of the best position you want to be at. Now, Boise's other shortcoming is the fact that she's not very fast for a cruiser. Her base speed, if I remember correctly, without the flag is just 30 knots. And that is really, really slow for a cruiser. I mean, you can feel it. When you're playing the Boise, you can feel that speed issue. And that's something that most of the other cruisers I've played in the game, I've never felt. With Boise, it was just like, why is this ship so slow? Like, you actually ask that question. So, for that radar, to get that short duration radar, you have to give up all of these things. And I'm just not sure if that's worth it. Alright, you will see in a second, not yet, but you will see me use that radar. You'll see how little I can really do with that. Alright, 15 HE shells, like I mentioned earlier, they are nice. Most people would likely compare this ship to Mogami, but it's probably not the best comparison. Mogami's shells are far easier to use. Her damage in terms of HE shells are better. Yeah, no, I mean, if I had to choose a ship, I'd still think Mogami is going to be better. But, hey, not taking anything away from the Boise. She does have her uses, like radar. I'm using it now. Very short duration. Had that Farragut realized that the radar's duration was this short, maybe it would have been better just to stay behind the island. Farragut did panic here. Definitely made a bit of a panic move, and came out. So knowing that now my radar's up, I have to push out if I want to get rid of this destroyer. Right? So I have to push out, and there we go. I'm out. I'm within the range to spot this Farragut. As you can tell, Farragut had no camo, so definitely someone who isn't very experienced with the game gets taken out by the Fiji. Okay, so move forward a little bit more. Now, again, you see, you have to constantly kind of go cover to cover with the Boise. A little bit similar to the Helena in this sense, but Helena with a little bit more range can sometimes be a little bit easier to deal with. Boise cover is something you really have to think about consistently. And because you have to constantly think about where you can get cover, she's also very challenging to play on certain maps because some maps just don't have a lot of cover. And on those maps where you don't have a lot of cover, well, combined with your not great ballistics, your slower rate of fire, your rather garbage speed, yeah, that radar just too much of a price. Right now, if you had to choose between this ship or Atlanta, I don't even think that's a contest. Atlanta all the way. Because the style is the same, right? You're both very dependent on islands. You're very dependent on things like that. But, screw it. I'd rather play the Atlanta. The Dhaka is more fun. Just that rate of fire, that ability to throw out shells. Because it's not like you have that much better range on this particular ship, you know? Yeah, I'd rather play Atlanta. It's just, I think it's a better ship, a little bit more fun to play. Boise, yeah, I mean, I've had moments with the ship where I'm like, oh, that's kind of neat. But there are definitely more moments where you're just kind of going, wow, twiddling my thumbs, what am I going to do? Like, after we've dealt with the sea cap here, Boise becomes a bit more of a, gee, where do I go now? Because B is pretty much open space. And all the enemy ships are somewhere else. It's like, you have these moments with Boise where you're just like, boy, where do I go? Where do I go in order to be effective? I don't know. I just don't find that to be all that much fun. Now, luckily, this ship is still work in progress. Helena, in her current state, she's fine already, to my knowledge. So Boise here can still be changed. They can still tweak her a little bit. I would say, you know, things to change. Maybe the rate of fire, so that's a little bit slower than Helena, but not like this much slower. This is really painful. 10-second reload time is just pretty painful. I know Wargaming never touches the ballistics of the guns, so you know the chances of seeing better shelf flight times or whatever, that's not happening. It's very rare they touch the ballistic numbers. It just has something to do with the way that ballistics are calculated, so they just don't like to fiddle with that. But at least the rate of fire maybe could be messed around with. I mean, maybe something could be done with HE. I don't know. Maybe if you keep it with like the 10-second rate of fire or something like that, maybe like give it quarter pen HE. Okay, no, personally I'm not a huge fan of quarter pen HE, but could be something to set her apart. I mean, if they want to stick with the close range, like the lower range, 13 point, I think it was 13.6 kilometer range is the max. If they wanted to stick with that kind of range, maybe do something with the acceleration or the speed. Something, you know. I just feel like as of the moment, that one radar that was put on the ship has just required way too much cost-wise. Way too much. Alright, close range fight with a Cleveland. The AP is alright at closer distances. If you can get like a nice broadside shot, you can do some good damage. HE works kind of universally if you have IFHE. I'm just going to be a little bit patient here, test the AP, Cleveland, there we go, and see, yeah, that's good amount of penetrations and good damage there with the armor piercing, and that Cleveland goes down. So by this point in time, you're kind of getting a feel for what Boise is like, right? She is a crappier Helena in almost every single aspect for the purpose of gaining a radar. That's kind of it. In every other department, I would take Helena over the ship. Helena's just the better ship. You know, the faster rate of fire, the slightly more range, the faster ship as well. Those things are all really good, and this one I just don't feel it, right? Oh, and aside from things like quarter HE pen, maybe tweak HE shell damage? That could be something. You know, she is a ship that served during the 50s and 60s, maybe slightly more, I know maybe not real, but maybe more, you know, sort of newer technology shells, I don't know. Could be something. This is more realm of fiction. Anyways, I am going to make a bit of a mistake here. Right here, I should have popped Hydro. If I was playing normally, I would have hit Hydro right here because I saw that first wave of torpedoes. And I know that there's a Fubuki out there, so definitely hit that Hydro. Hit that radar because you see where that smoke cloud is. You know, probably would have engaged the Fubuki here. Unfortunately, I was on the phone. So I was so distracted by the phone call at the time. I was just like, alright, clicking my mouse button, I'm just going to click and try to shoot this Fuso. Oh well, but I mean, all in all, you see the Boise, you see what she's like, and you kind of have an idea, right? A lot of shells, has short range, has all these things, pretty good for maybe hunting, killing destroyers in their smoke, you know, that kind of stuff, but just has so many other poor points, shall we say, vulnerabilities, that I just don't find her to be all that good of a ship, and for now, I would say the price is too high, and she is a very disappointing ship. Anyways, end result for that battle, just shy of 80,000 damage, set 11 fires on 209 shell hits, did some spotting there, so that's not bad. 347k credits, 4,000 experience. It's alright. It's, you know, most of my battles with the ship have sort of been in that sort of statistical range, like 70, 80k damage. Haven't had really a fantastic battle yet. Mostly because, like I said, that short range and that very island-hugging playstyle, unless the enemy just runs into you, sometimes you just don't have a lot to do. Anyways, so damage-wise there, 23k from fires, you know, 37k from HE, 18,000 from AP. Wasn't too bad of a battle, right? Take away all the deductions, 243,000. Credit earning wasn't also, it's kind of meh as well, I would say. But yeah, all in all, Boise in a current state, much too expensive of a price I've paid for that radar, and the ship as a whole is just very, very much meh. Anyways, folks, that does it for the Boise video. What do you think about the ship? Good, bad, meh? You know, what's your thoughts? Let me know in the comment section below. And of course, those comments, I will pick one for a crate code, and I'll announce the winner tomorrow in the next video. Aside from all that, folks, take care, have yourselves a good weekend, and I'll talk to all of you again tomorrow.